APL Talk is an exceptional online educational resource that addresses authentic, optimal health vibrancy through informative discussions to help people and their families live healthier and productive lives. And now your co-host, Carl Tichenor and Mary Esther Gilbert.
Welcome to APL Talk. We're coming from Illusion Studios in Tucson, Arizona. My name is Carl Tichenor.
And I'm Esther Gilbert.
And we are your co-hosts for this very important, informative, educational podcast addressing optimal health vibrancy for you, your families, and those you cherish. And while our main audience is more than likely going to be APL partners like Esther and me, it's really intended for anyone seeking to distinguish factual information from inaccurate, incorrect, non-factual, non-scientific based information and help you keep on track for truly effective nutritional health management. So, how do our APL nutritional drops play into what we're going to be addressing today? Well, that's what we're all about for this particular program. We're developing a series of educational podcasts to maximize your knowledge about our APL formulations, the science behind them, and how they interact effectively with all of our body systems so that you can grow your client base and build a strong organization of your own. So we're pleased that you're with us. And with that, Esther, I can't wait to get into the meat of your book.
We've had some great conversations before, Carl, and we're now finally putting them into video and audio podcasts. We have so much information to share. We have a wealth of knowledge that it's years and years of knowledge and research and education and experience, on-hand experience in helping others improve their health. So we are very excited here today to share all of our knowledge, starting with today's program.
For those of you who might have seen our previous podcast, if you recall, that was an opportunity for Esther to kind of walk you through the sections of the book that she just published, and it is called the APL Product Reference Nutritional Health Guide. But instead of just kind of highlighting the sections that she did on our last podcast to give you an idea how you can benefit from it, we're going to get a little bit more in depth in a teaching learning environment right now so that you can, as we said in the opening, maximize your knowledge about what these drops do. And also at the end of the program, we're going to give you an opportunity to know how you can purchase the hard copy of this very important resource or the Kindle version. So Esther, having recently published this as an incredible educational tool for our organization, I have to ask you, because when I read it, I couldn't believe the first 60, 70 pages were so chock full of the science behind it all. So maybe to kick things off, why do you think it's important for us to know about our body and how it functions and all the systems that are associated with it?
Okay, well, here we go. Yes, the human body is dynamic. It's constantly changing, and it's constantly searching for the right nutrients to maintain itself properly and to prevent disease and degenerative conditions. So this is what we need to do, is to learn about the human body and learn what food actually does and what the difference is between healthy food and unhealthy food, things to about the nutrients that are in the food and things like that. So all of this is very, very fundamental for optimal health.
And obviously, even though this book focuses on the APL nutraceutical drops, we can't lose sight of the fact, right, that we've got to consider everything that we ingest in terms of whole foods, other supplements, and that type of thing, and that's what you're addressing here, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so the APL drops, we'll get into this a little more, if not today, then certainly with subsequent podcasts and videos. But we have to understand what the drops do in the body. And yes, they're the best supplement that I have found in the 40 years of evaluating supplements and recommending supplements to people. It's all about absorbability. It's all about 100% bioavailability. How well does the body utilize the nutrients that you're taking in the form of supplements? So We have to realize that the APL drops are 100% absorbable, and they're rapidly assimilated in the body. So this is the kind of thing that we need to distinguish, is the difference between a supplement that may or may not be absorbable, and in fact be inflammatory in the body and cause more of a cascade reactive inflammatory response. But the APL drops are the safest, most 100% absorbable form of supplement because of the technology that the company has acquired from, 30 years of scientific study from scientists in Italy.
European and American scientists,
Yes,
that's correct.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. So this is a long time in the making to develop a supplement that is so rapidly absorbable, 100% absorbable, and therefore very, very effective. The book lists the 80 botanicals and all of the health attributes of those botanicals. I spent many, many months researching and delving into the scientific literature in universities and government databases all over the world. So there is a massive amount of scientific research on these botanicals and how they help the body function optimally.
Okay, so I want you to stay with us because you talk about bioavailability, absorbability. Well, aren't all supplements doing that?
No.
Okay.
Because supplements are synthetic sometimes, and even the whole food supplements, if you're having digestive issues and then your body tries to break it down like it would food, and a lot of these nutrients aren't absorbable because they're not in their whole food form. So that requires a lot of other nutrient factors that are found in whole foods, but when you break things down and you put them in a little tablet, they're not going to be as absorbable. Some supplements are better than others, but there's hardly ever a 100% absorbability factor.
Okay, and when you talk about absorbability, absorbable where?
Aha, good question. That was the next thing. Yes, okay, so your body, if you're taking in food, then your body has to break down those huge molecules through the digestive process. So by the time that these nutrients are broken down to the point where they fit through your cell membranes in your stomach lining and other areas of the body where you're able to absorb nutrients. Okay, that's the key, is how well is your body able to break down those nutrients and fit them through the very distinguishing cell membrane. There are a lot of identification factors that are sitting on the cell membrane. Now we're talking about something that's extremely tiny. You can barely see it. So we've got trillions of those living active cells in the body. Okay, so we need to be able to absorb those nutrients so that they get inside the cell, which is where all the manufacturing sites are in the body. Okay, so we've got the protein manufacturing sites, the fats that are utilized and transformed into body tissues. We've got the carbohydrates. All of these nutrient factors work together in synergy to generate new tissues, to repair DNA damage, cellular damage, increase the innate capacity for healing, such as the immune system.
Yep.
So all of these factors have to be played, have to be taken into account when we're putting something in our bodies. And so the drops do a lot of that work for us. They're immediately assimilable right through the cell membrane. It's as if the cell membranes say, "Come right in, royalty is here." Because we eat so many. Well, most people do. I don't. I teach this stuff. Okay, so. And so yes, we have to make sure that we are absorbing these nutrients so that our bodies can do the work. And our genetic instructions in our genetic code in the DNA will know what to do. Unless that cell is damaged, then it won't know what to do. Those gene sequences are very, very important for providing the information needed to do all of the repair and regenerative work in the body.
Because I think, and for the benefit of our audience too, because I want to put myself in their shoes, when I read the first section of your book, which covers body systems and how the body functions, that kind of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of this I didn't know. And so it was important for me to now begin to assimilate this information as I began to choose, what I bought in a supermarket or what I got as an additional supplement and so forth. And knowing, as you've expressed, this absorbability factor is critical. But could you also elaborate more on what you mean by bioavailability?
Yes. Again, it's what happens at the cell membrane site. If your cells don't recognize the molecules that are arriving there after digestion, or in the case of the drops, they're already broken down to the point where they enter the cell membrane immediately. That means bioavailability. So if your cells are rejecting a lot of the things that are arriving in your bloodstream too, that are being distributed throughout the entire body, we've got miles and miles of blood vessels and smaller blood vessels and then tiny capillaries. So there has to be an absorbability factor through the cell membrane to the different body structures and the tissues in the body, and that means the heart and all of the other organs. That means are your muscle cells receiving the nutrients through their cell membranes? Are your nerve cells receiving information so that they function optimally? So a lot of things can go wrong in the body if the nutrient factors aren't there every day. So that's what bioavailability means. How well are your cells accepting those molecules through the cell membrane so that once they reach inside, all the repair work and regenerative work and health protective work is being done.
See, and I think that's one of the most important things that I learned in reading this, because I certainly didn't get it in my high school education, and I didn't major in college. But I've got to stay on track. I got some additional questions for you. But I know this is a relatively new term. I think in society today, it is nutraceutical. So again, this is, and folks, just so that you know, everything that we're talking about today, you can be found in this book for your own edification, and you can delve in, take your own notes. What we're simply doing is allowing you an opportunity to hear Esther kind of elaborate and edify some of the things she's talking about from the book. But what exactly is a nutraceutical? How would you define that? As opposed to, say, a supplement,
right?
Or something like that, or a vitamin, for example. Yeah.
As far as the nutritional supplements industry goes, a nutraceutical only came about in the last 10, 15 years. Yeah. And it's a whole new classification of supplements. Normally, supplements are consisting of vitamins and minerals. Nowadays, companies they're doing their scientific homework, and they're realizing, hey, let's put some whole food factors in our supplements, okay? So once you have, and a lot of companies are using superfoods, what are considered superfoods. So they go beyond the normal vitamin mineral type of actions. Okay, vitamins and minerals, of course, are essential. The body cannot manufacture them, so we need them. But a lot of the botanicals in our formulations contain phytonutrients, and there are literally thousands and thousands, and I'm not exaggerating. I came up with at least 25,000 phytonutrients. These are plant chemicals that are present. They're the fluids in plants that are so beneficial to the human body. They do a number of things which I outline in the book and in the monographs that I develop for every single formulation, for every single botanical ingredient. I also list not only the vitamins and minerals, but the phytonutrients and how they act in the body to protect the body, protect your health. They actually do a lot of repair work at the cell level. And so they'll take in and they'll splice in their own DNA segments, and the body will be able, the DNA will be able to recognize those segments and replace it into our own DNA. It's like a splicing action that actually takes place. So that's what a nutraceutical is. It does more than just fuel the body. It actually does repair work at the DNA level.
And I've got so many questions. I can jump around, and we can, but at least, again, folks, you can find this information in the book. But you also talk a lot about disease and deficiencies and things. And I think, you might even want to talk about how the pharmaceutical companies kind of target areas that, butt up against, well, what's really causing this deficiency here and there. Can you speak a little bit about that? Because you talk a lot about it in the book.
Oh, boy, here we go. Okay, so a lot of people see a pill and they say, okay, what is it going to do for me, right? Okay, so again, nutrients repair and regenerate our living cells, and they help the replication process so that every cell that's replicated is replicated correctly, so nothing goes wrong or very little goes wrong as time goes on, because that's the natural aging process. But we can prolong the aging process. We can prevent the disease process by making sure that we have the right nutrients, okay? So tell me the question again, because I just got so sidetracked. I just get so excited.
Well, the original question was, what is the correlation between proper and thorough cellular nourishment and the prevention? Okay.
We're talking about the difference between drugs and
nutrients.
Okay.
I mean, it's not a sedative, it's not a drug. I mean, people can get confusing. That gets all muddled
I
up
remember.
and so
Okay,
forth.
I'm back on track. All right, so my mind goes a mile a minute. I can go off all kinds of tangents.
And that's why I have these written down.
That's why I have you. Yes. All right. That's why I stick to slideshows too. Because I've got this 40 years of information in here. Okay, so the difference between a nutrient and a drug. See, I'm not a medical doctor, and I don't prescribe. I don't treat. I don't diagnose. I don't have that kind of education. But I have had plenty of clients over the 40 years that I have been a consultant. And when they tell me what drugs they are taking, we look it up together and we see the side effects of the drugs. I don't know exactly how drugs work, but I have a certain idea, because what they do is they shut off certain mechanisms, usually at the cell membrane where the information is received and perceived. So if we turn off a biochemical reaction or biological action, then that it covers up the symptoms. Okay, drugs rarely heal and allow the cells to function well again, to function properly again. Okay, so nutrients do that. They go inside the cell. The DNA says, I recognize that molecule, so I will use that to repair.
So in other words, it's almost like the APL drops reverse that, if you will.
Over the years when I've had clients get well from all variety of health ailments, all I did was teach them how to nourish their bodies.
Okay.
And their cells recognized the molecular information and did the repair work, and so they got well. And so that's what nutrients do. Whereas drugs, they seem to turn off mechanisms so that you turn off symptoms. But the body also is trying to understand what's going on. So it has a lot of other augmenting and balancing effects. Okay, so it'll go through and it'll try to compensate for what's missing, for what it doesn't understand. So it goes around a different route, so to speak, and that's what causes a lot of side effects.
Maybe the right word wasn't reverse, but what APL drops will do is more naturally and proactively address the situations in the body that perhaps wouldn't necessarily be advisable by a drug necessarily. I don't give any advice as far as whether to take a drug or not.
Sure. What happens when I do a consultation with people, they normally get well and they go back to their doctors, and their doctors say, well, keep doing what you're doing great. And they usually wean them off the medication. So if someone goes off their medications, there could be severe side effects. So I always do that under medical care. Yeah. But I found that my clients got well because their bodies were so nourished that their DNA information was corrected, and so cells began to function correctly once more. That means healing. That is the healing process, when your cells start functioning correctly.
Yeah, and I again, you're absolutely right. We're not trying to recommend or prescribe or anything else, but help people, and you do explain it in the book as well. And by the way, Esther's also written her first book, True Health Mastery, Transform Your Health, Change the World, and you address this particular topic even in more thorough detail.
I addressed that issue quite a bit in the first book I've written. Actually, I've written 6 books. This is actually the 6th one. And so being into sports nutrition and helping athletes prevent injuries and prolonging their athletic life, as you know, has been a focus, but also nutritional healing and restoring the body back to optimal functioning.
But what's nice is, as I read this, you at least you do explain the benefits of whole foods, vitamins, supplements, drops, and you talk about everything related to what people are putting in their systems, including drugs, and it's very well expressed, and people can access that information. And it was good for me to know, because a lot of it I simply didn't. So I appreciate that.
People aren't schooled on it, and that's my mission, is to make sure people are schooled on it so that they can manage their health more effectively and prevent these terrible diseases that our society suffers from. 1 in every 3 people have diabetes or cancer or heart disease. They've got neurodegenerative disorders and digestive disorders, all sorts of problems, because they're not providing their body with the correct molecules from the right foods and the right supplements.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions that we've been receiving from some of our audience and the public. There were some concerns as to when a drop should be taken. Can you address this? I mean, is there any particular...
Yeah, there's a whole section of that in the book, because some people say that they have certain effects from taking the drop, so they don't want to take, like if it makes them sleepy, there aren't any drug effects in the drops, but if a person gets sleepy, that means the body is trying to do some repair work, and it's time to rest.
Gotcha.
People are so stressed, and they're out there, and they're just giving it all they've got, but yet they don't have the physical or nutritional reserves to be able to do that. But once they get a really good dose of nourishment like that, then the body says, okay, let me do this repair work. It's time for you to sleep now. That's what the body does. It says, okay, it's time to take it easy so that I can repair this for you, kind of thing. And that's exactly what happens.
And another question that came out was may have been a concern about the sugar content in the drops. Why should this not be a concern?
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Do we have another hour? Oh, gosh. Okay, I'm trying to summarize this. So there will be other podcasts that we can talk about these kinds of things. We've got just an infinite amount of topics that we can get into in depth to help everyone. But yes, sugar is a much of a problem. Just yesterday, I was watching a TED Talk where this guy took a wheelbarrow out on the stage, and he dumped a wheelbarrow full of cubed sugars on this mat on the stage. And I thought, oh boy, they're going to have an ant problem. But he did that to demonstrate how much sugar just from sweetened milk products, like chocolate milk and things like that kids take in. Okay, this is what they eat in I think it was a month. I would believe it if it was a month. So it was quite often.
I think I saw that same video. I think it was 5 pounds. He put 5 pounds.
It was a wheelbarrow full of cubed sugar. Sugar is a problem because the agricultural industries are genetically modifying the beets, and so they are instilling the pesticides and other traits of other animals in foods, so that they have these chain reaction problems in the body. But as far as the sugar goes, that also is genetically modified. So if you're buying sugar made from beets, then you're getting genetically modified. And it does, more and more studies are coming out that are demonstrating or indicating or hinting at the fact, we have to be careful what we say, hinting at the fact that it may cause long-term DNA damage. And we're talking neurological disorders, we're talking learning disorders, and cancers and things like that. So the science is pointing to that, and all I can do is just be the messenger and tell people to just take some precautions. But the sugars, everything in our drops are from organic sources, including the sugar. And when we consider how much sugar is in each drop, there is 4 grams of sugar in the drop, and it's not all white sugar. The reason they use white sugar is it's the only sugar because of its molecular structure that will crystallize. And so in order to form the hardened candies
that you put in your mouth,
that you put in your mouth, and it's completely absorbable underneath the tongue, so it's sublingual. So yes, the industry, and when I did some research on the whole entire industry, it's like common knowledge that whenever you want to form a hardened candy, then you have to use white sugar.
Gotcha.
And that's the only thing. So actually it's 1.7 grams of white sugar per each drop. And the other sugars, the other 3 are...
And I would assume that's negligent.
I'm getting to that, yes. Okay. The other grams of sugars are from the botanicals themselves, the natural sugars that are in the fruits and things like that. So, yes. But also the botanicals contain anti-inflammatories, blood sugar regulating, phytonutrients, and minerals, and vitamins, and enzymes. So It does. It just creates a net effect of being very, very negligible, including people who have been taking the drops with diabetes. They don't notice a spike in their blood sugar unless they've been eating other sugary foods and, they happen to pop 4 or 5 drops all at one time. I know of one incident that happened. But so, I said, well, what else was he eating? The drops should not have done that, right? Because they have blood sugar regulating effects
good point. Yeah.
that are very effective. And not one, in the 7 years that the company's been in business, not one dental carie has been reported because of the antibacterial qualities of the botanicals in the drops.
Okay.
So I really, if it means, it's either that or have it in powder form or capsule form, and that has a compliancy rate that is way, way down. People love the beautiful, delicious little candies, and I don't even call them candies because to me, they are major nutritious little supplements, okay? And so, there's, to me, that sold me on it because I am against a lot of sugar. People get obese on sugar, or they get cancers and all sorts of other syndromes, health syndromes from eating too much sugar. So I had a real problem with that, but it was organic and a couple of grams. And when I did the research on every one of our 80 different botanicals in our 14 formulations, I thought, there's no problem here,
But I think what's nice and what our audience needs to understand is you don't sidestep it. You address it right up front.
Yes.
Along with is there a time when you should or shouldn't take it? You bring all this into play.
Yes, I explain that too in the book.
And the other thing I noticed, which was great, is what and this was another question that was posed. Can there be some reactions when people start taking the nutraceutical drops?
Yeah, people have reported, feeling sleepy or breaking out into a rash and things like that, and that's the detoxification process.
That's
the
it.
skin is the largest gland in the body. It's one of the eliminative channels. In addition to the bowels and the lymph nodes and the kidneys, So we've got 5 eliminative channels, right? And the skin is one of the major ones. So if there's any kind of toxicity in the body, say exposure to synthetic chemicals in household products or cosmetics or spraying pesticides or being exposed to things in the chemicals in the workplace, things like that, those are all fat soluble, which means your body retains them in your tissues. And those things can be retained in the brain as well and affect the nervous system. So we've got a lot of disorders that have neurodegenerative problems.
So it could be it's a natural response that there could be.
Yeah, the detox process should be gentle. I've never advocated any kind of really severe detoxification problems. If you start cleaning up your diet and taking the drops, your body will adjust.
Perfect.
And it should be a gradual, comfortable process,
And of course, you keep taking the drops, every day.
Yes, your body
through it.
needs these nutrients,
Right.
not just every day, but every few hours. So that's why when we get hungry, the body's saying, all right, I'm depleted, I need to be replenished. And what we replenish it with is very, very critical.
And you've got a big section in your book about phytonutrients. You've mentioned it a couple times in our conversation. Phytonutrients, you also call them maybe phytochemicals.
Yes.
So again, phytonutrients, they play a major role in what we're talking about here, correct?
Yes, they are the corrective fluids in plants that help people's cells function normally again. So they do a lot of corrective things in the body. Mm-hmm. Vitamins and minerals, they are involved in a lot of biological processes. They're more involved in the energy-producing processes, but there are many phytochemicals or phytonutrients that actually assist in the cell's energy-generating capacity as well. So the difference between phytonutrients and phytochemicals, there's no difference. It's just that in science, they call them phytochemicals. Phyto meaning from the sun, and chemicals meaning what the plants put molecules together to build their own body fluids,
right.
which are the plant chemicals.
Right. And what I like about your book is everything that you present in your prose narrative, in the charts, and even in the scientific terms, glossary in the back of your book, it's all scientific based. The efficacy is true.
Yes, if we deviate from what's been found in very formal scientific studies, then it's all speculation and guess and misinformation, inaccurate information. So we have to understand the science of the human body. It's been studied extensively, and science is still learning about the vast complexities of how the body works. But we know quite a bit already, and we can base that knowledge on preventing disease and maintaining quality longevity. Generations are becoming more and more unhealthy, and young children are turning up with heart disease and diabetes and all sorts of what normally used to be, well, not normally, but what used to be an adult disease or neurodegenerative diseases, things like that. Those are happening in our young now. So it's time to clean up the biological terrain that's inside the body and learn what it takes to maintain it properly so that we can have a healthier population.
In fact, it's true, because in all of our conversations, you keep triggering things for me, and back to you. But what was amazing to me is the similarity, when you talk about phytonutrients, phyto from the sun, and so all of these coming from plants, the similarity between a plant cell and a human cell is quite fascinating.
I know, you really like that,
I do. It's my favorite.
I know. It's mine too, because plant cells and human cells are so similar. It's just uncanny, okay? A plant cell, their outer membrane is the hard, the fiber, right?
Sure.
That we also need to sweep our entire digestive system out and keep it clean and functioning optimally. But human cells have a plasma membrane, okay? But inside the cell, we have the same organelles, the same little organs that are inside each one of our trillions of cells that we can't even see with our own eyes. Just in my finger alone, there's a billion cells, right? Okay, so that's like mind-boggling. But yes, our cells function pretty much the same way. We take in light and we convert it to energy, and we take in nutrients. We have body fluids, okay, and those oxygenate the tissues, and our cells generate sugars and new proteins. The body is almost all protein, by the way, other than water. So just about everything the body is made out of proteins. Okay, so we've got thousands and thousands and thousands of proteins in the body, and that means enzymes and hormones, immune cells. Everything is composed of proteins.
So it would seem to me, Esther, that the scientists behind this understand this.
Yes.
And have incorporated in these formulations all of the things that you're talking about because of the incredible similarities between plant cells and human cells.
Yes. That's why we need to eat our vegetables, because we need those plant cells. In fact, in the drops, the technology behind it is so unique. What it does is it actually thins the cell membranes of the plants so that they immediately get released. So we are getting not only the nutrient factors from the plants, but we're getting the DNA from the plant, which is extremely compatible with human cells. So we can take whatever information is in their DNA and use it to correct our own DNA. And that's what's so great about plants.
Right.
So there's a lot of things that we can utilize as well from the inside of a plant cell.
And again, ladies and gentlemen, all of this is very well described in depth in her book, the APL Product Reference, Nutritional Health Guide. And Esther, maybe this might be the last question for this podcast,
okay,
unless you wish to elaborate further. What do you think is the most important thing that you could say about APL nutraceutical drops? Maybe that's putting you on the spot a little bit.
No, oh gosh, okay, how do I summarize it?
Or maybe what separates it from all the other stuff out there?
The most important thing about nutraceutical drops is that they are rapidly assimilated.
Okay.
And they immediately are recognized by human cells as the right stuff, okay, the right molecules to do all the repair work that's needed to maintain the optimal functioning of the cells. And our cells compose our organs and tissues and structures, and the organ systems are there's more than one organ sometimes to a system. So there's like 10 major body systems. So it keeps going up and up at the macro scale. So we're starting at the micro scale where true health happens and true disease is prevented. So that's the most important thing about the drops.
Excellent. Now, since we're co-hosts, okay, if you want to elaborate and say anything more, I was prepared to let our audience know how they can get your book,
Yeah.
If this is timely at this point in time, is there anything else you'd like to add to our conversation?
Well, yeah, don't let me forget to tell people where to get the book.
Okay.
But I think that we have both found it very, very. See, Carl is. Do we have 5 minutes?
Yes.
All right, 5 minutes. That's what I want to make sure. Yeah. Okay, so Carl is one of my best clients I've ever had, out in the 40 years. Because when I first met Carl, he was a coach for a college team, and he's actually a gold medal winner in what is it? 800 and 1,500 meters.
That's correct.
Okay, and cross country.
I think I'm going to have to pay her after this for this.
But anyway, he has a lot of qualifications that together we feel like we're qualified to help others transform their health.
That's true.
In fact, that's one of the things that I do is I help people transform their health. But Carl's health was in jeopardy as well. But he became my client, and look at him now. He's just the picture of health, don't you think? But, he's my best advocate. He's read voraciously all of my materials, everything I've ever published. And so, and he walks the talk, okay? So he gets it. He understands. So together we want to help everyone else feel this way. It feels great to be, we're in our 60s, and we don't feel like we're in our 60s. We feel like we can go on forever, actually. So, yeah.
But the kinds of things, and I appreciate that, Esther, very much.
Sure.
The kinds of things that she addresses in this book and in other books that she's written, we're not getting this in our educational systems across this country. Somebody has to kind of take the lead and take ownership of the truths that are being unveiled here and in other sources around the world that speak to these truths. So we do want to leave a legacy to our children and our grandchildren, and this is one of the things that we've decided at this point in our lives to do and to promote and to talk about. And with that, to get a hold of the APL product and nutritional health guide, Esther, how can they get a hold of this book?
Okay, the name of the website is holisticchoices.com. And when you get there, rather than give you the long string of the URL, just go to holisticchoices.com, and on the left you'll see APL product guide, and click on that. It'll take you to the page where it will will show you the links where you can click on it and purchase the book. So it's just a two-step process.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and feel free to access this podcast as many times as you like and use it in concert with this phenomenal work that has just been published by Esther Gilbert. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good day.
Just remember to like, share, and subscribe, and help us spread the word. Thank you.
Thank you.